Hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So when it comes to rank advancement, I'm just really big on planning. It's not something that I think, come the 15th of the month, you should decide if you're going to rank advance or not. I think it's important to look at kind of your months and plan that a month or 2 or 3 months in advance, what you're looking for. And as you go through the cycle in doTERRA, you'll notice that certain months have certain things. You always know, in December, usually there's that 200 PB promo. In January, there's usually that New Year, New You. In March, we usually have Deep Blue. In summer, we've got the Jasmine House. And so every year, we kind of look at what the previous years have done, and it kind of gives us an idea of which months would be good for us to roll out a program, which months would be good for us to focus on pushing for new ranks. Because you want to avoid burning out. It's really hard to rank advance if you have a team that's burnt out. And so you kind of want to mix it up with, okay, this month we're really focusing on self-care and leadership. And then this next month, sometimes it's planting seeds and sometimes it's harvesting. So I think that that's really important. And this allows you to get your leaders on board so that it's their goal. I noticed, and I don't know, it depends on your relationship with your leaders and different types of leaders. I have had to be careful that I don't share my goal or vision as my leader's goal, because then it makes them feel, even if it's still benefiting them, it makes them feel like they're working towards my goal instead of theirs. And that can be really deflating. And it can also mean that you're the one that's pushing for that goal, but your leaders aren't quite on board. They feel like they're doing you a favor. So instead, it's really important to talk to them and find out, what's going on in their business and what their goals are. And if I don't really like the time frame of their goals, then I'll talk to them and be like, oh, you're thinking about rank advancing in June, but May is a really good month because people haven't gotten out of school yet, they're not traveling quite yet, or whatever it is. Every single month has its benefits, so I have a list of benefits and kind of the hardships on each month. And so depending on which month I'm trying to help them push for, I'll let them know the benefits. And it might be, I'm gone to Europe most of June, but in May I can really help you. I can help you with this or that. And so it kind of just, it helps lean them or guide them to where I think they might be a little bit more committed. So I just encourage them and create the value on why it might be a good idea to push for that in May versus June, or June versus July, or whatever month it is kind of that you're looking at. It's important to help them feel, I don't know if this sounds like manipulative, but help them feel as if it's their goal, because it really is. The reason that they're in your leadership positions is because they have these goals. And so,
Melyna, I think to what you're saying, that we can really sometimes see what could set them up for success the best.
yes.
So if we bring that input in, we can make a difference there.
Exactly. And you have that month in mind for a specific reason, and so share those reasons with them, and that might get them like, oh, okay. Because sometimes people they're scared to commit to something that stretches them. And so if you really let them know, oh my gosh, you've got so much momentum, we've got this and this going on, we've got that elite retreat or that boot camp or whatever it is, I think this will really help you. That might be a great month to consider. And more than likely they'll say, okay, if you think I can do it, then yeah, I'm all in. And then, because I think that a lot of times the mistake we make is we're pushing for it and we don't get everybody on board. And then it's hard and we're frustrated, but you can't expect anything from your leaders if they're not fully on board and they don't feel like it's their vision and their goal. So we want to help with that. And then in that month, make sure to give them an assignment. Have them be, I'm really big on elevating leaders, because there's a transition that happens as we're going to Diamond or Blue Diamond, is where your leaders really need to feel like they are leading their team, they're growing their business, instead of feeling like they're part of your business. And the more you can get them to feel like it's their business instead of they're just part of your business, then you'll see them step up to a higher standard of leadership and not just be a builder, but be a leader, where they start to take a lot more proactive initiative and create massive movement without waiting for you to initiate that. And that's a really cool transition that I think we can help along by recognizing, oh my goodness, you've done some Facebook classes and had success. Can you talk a little bit about that? Or, oh my gosh, you enrolled so many people. Can you share that? And anytime you put them and elevate them into a a spotlight or a leadership position instead of yourself, then all of a sudden their team has so much more confidence in them and their team is a little bit more excited. It's motivating. But that leader that hears that really does go above and beyond what they were doing before, because now they start to see themselves as a true leader. And I find that until someone sees themselves as a leader, they don't have the full confidence to rush forward in their business because they're not sure if it will work. And there's sacrifices that need to be made to rank advance, obviously. And those sacrifices are always worth it if they feel like they can succeed. If they're not sure if they can succeed, then a lot of times they'll hold back so that they're not risking so much, or they've got an excuse for why it didn't work because they weren't really trying, or whatever it is that kind of helps them with that. And this allows us to by getting everybody on board, we can have a really clear action plan. I like to have everything broken down where, you know, we know what each executive leg is going to be doing. We have the builder worksheets are really great, or in our mentoring, we want to make sure that we know exactly how many events are going on in each leg, so that by the end of, you know, April, we know exactly what we need to work on for May. We might have a leg that's not having enough events. What can we do there? And then that just helps us make sure we have everything planned out. I feel like people feel overwhelmed and pushed when we wait until the middle of the month to say, oh no, okay, now we've got to catch up. And so if they can kind of plan beforehand, planning can really help take that pressure and stress so that it is a lot more seamless and you have that momentum in front of people instead of them like chasing it. So we can create value, like I said, every month. And you know, some months you might say, this month has a bigger bonus pool. Usually the 200 PV promo months, the bonus pools are a little bit lower because more people are rank advancing. I do think that May might not be that case, because June and July is what they need is really good, usually the highest rank advancements because they're trying to walk. So May is a pretty good month to go for that. But this really changes it to where we're supporting them with their goals instead of we're pushing them to our goals. So what I like to do with that is, as we're creating value, we want to look at each leg, what they still need to accomplish, and then put in place things that can help give them that extra push. I'm a big fan of double fast starts. I think that's just amazing because it can be duplicated by anybody. An elite can offer a double fast starts where they're just kicking back their fast start. And this works really well if it's presented correctly, and you go to somebody that, you know, maybe is just using oils or just wanting to share, but there's no sense of urgency for them. And so a lot of times the things that they intended on doing don't ever happen because there's not a value created or an urgency. But if you go to someone for the month of May, for example, and say, oh my goodness, there's this amazing 200 PV promo that doTERRA is doing. There's, you know, I know everyone's trying to get gifts for the teachers and everyone's going to be traveling this summer. They're trying to stock up. Swimsuit season is coming up. There's so many amazing things that are opening doors for people to want to learn more about essential oils. Now, normally doTERRA is going to give you a really generous 20% in fast start. But for May, and only May, this will never happen again, we are willing to match that. So you're going to get 40%. Now, we generally average about 500 PV per class. So imagine if you did 2 classes, instead of getting, you know, and you got 1,000 PV, instead of getting, 200, you would get 400. And when you break it down into numbers for them, then all of a sudden they're thinking, oh, I could host a couple classes and get $400 in May. That would really help with graduation gifts or whatever it is. It gives them that value that they need. And then you just simply let them know, and I'm going to bring the supplies. I will come and teach the class for you, and I'll be here every step of the way so that we can help you have really successful events. So generally, if you create something like that, then somebody that is waiting for all of the stars to magically align, which I had someone last month say, yeah, I really want to build this business. My schedule's busy until September, though. I can host a class in September. So I'm thinking, really? You don't need to like paint your house or anything before you host a class. They either don't understand the value of hosting the class or they don't understand the simplicity of hosting a class. And so I kind of go over what that means. And then I really recommend that we do, you know, 1 weekday class, 1 weekend class, and then at least 1 online class so they can kind of have an option for everybody. So you can do this with the new people that are coming on board, and that momentum is there. And that fast start is just kicked back from the enrollment tree. There's a 5% that would be out of pocket that either I cover or sometimes we split that with the enrollment tree. It just kind of depends. But for 1,000 PV being brought on by a brand new person, that would be $50. It's not, that's a pretty decent incentive. And what I like about that is whoever that person enrolls, they can turn around and offer the same thing to them the following month. And it really creates a value in them knowing that, yeah, you're not going to take any, or the person that's giving the enrollment, the fast start back, I mean, to their new enrollment, sometimes they might say, well, I'm not going to make any money then. And if they understand you won't make any money this month when you're offering the double fast starts and you're kicking back that fast start, but imagine how much more you'll be making when everyone gets on LRP the following month, because now they're enrolling people. And it just helps people get started correctly, because instead of enrolling 1 or 2 people, you know, each month for 6 months, they usually will have a pocket of people that they enroll right from the start and right in the beginning. And then that allows them to have a lot better options with placements instead of people just getting stuck according to the order that they enrolled in. And so that is something that I definitely love to look at with our new people, and where can we really create some momentum. I also really like to do rank bonuses and just creating a value for that. So as, you know, someone that's going from platinum to diamond, you have that sense of urgency. That's about a $3,000 difference for you. So that makes a big difference. But when you're looking at your silvers, it's, well, there's really just one more silver, but that's not quite as big of a bonus. So sometimes, or if you're going to blue diamond, you know, as well, that's going to be about a $7,000 to $8,000 difference from diamond. And so it's a big incentive and motivation for you to push. Now, I'll tell you, with all of the rank advancements that John and I have done, I don't think we've really made much money on the first 2 times that we hit it. We pretty much take the difference from where we are to where we want to be, and we look at how we can invest that into supercharging our team to hit that goal sooner. So even though we don't take home any extra money than if we would have hit the previous rank, it puts us on the path to that rank, I think, by at least 6 months sooner, because we keep that momentum going. And I think that we lose so many leaders by losing momentum, where things go a little too slow for them, that it's like, oh, I just can't afford to be out of pocket every month with my LRP, or I can't afford this. So anytime we can do something that kind of fast tracks them to at least getting a little bit of money back, then you're going to increase your chances of creating more leaders and builders in your team. And as they rank advance, they're seeing this positive recognition that they're growing. And so let's take a gold, for example. Gold from, you know, silver to gold, it's going to be around a $500 difference. So that's a pretty good incentive. But a lot of times I'll tell people, and to help you this month, we'll double. If you hit gold, then we'll double that bonus. So instead of it being like around $750, it would be around $1,400 or $1,500. We're going to double that. But what we're also going to do is offer your premiers. Let's offer your premiers a bonus as well. Why don't we? Because it's pretty easy to get a gold on board. It's harder to get a premier because they're not getting an extra incentive. So whether they hit this month or 5 months from now, there's not as much of a push. But if you offer them perhaps a $200 bonus for each of the premier, and you tell the gold, I'll cover 100 and you cover the other 100, now you have that gold who now has skin in the game. So if they see, a lot of times you'll have a gold that has 2 premiers, but then there's the third leg that's not quite there yet. Instead of them kind of saying like, oh, it's not quite there, I know you're going for blue, so I'm sure you'll fill it in for me. They all of a sudden want to get there themselves instead of waiting for you to fill that in, because they want to have that bonus doubled. They also know that they're responsible for paying $200 to these 2 that did hit premier, and so they don't want to not get their extra bonus but then be out the money. Does that kind of make sense, where you've got everyone with a little bit of skin in the game and you're working together to create the value for the premier? You could even go a level lower and offer something to the executives to where really everyone has the same type of incentive to progress, instead of like, well, as an elite or as a premier, I don't get anything extra, why should I push? And the ones that really spend that last week of the month on the phone and on the grind until midnight trying to make sure everything's in versus going to the pool or whatever else, those sacrifices are a lot easier to make when there's a little extra love that they get for that. And like I said, make sure that it's coming down the ladder. You have your silvers are kind of investing into those elites as well. They're going to come out better because you're giving them a double bonus, but they're helping with their elites getting an incentive as well. And even this month, we actually, for anybody that's hitting elite within the legs that we are looking at things, we also did things like we'll pay for your hotel for the elite retreat, or and then their silver leader or their platinum leader is going to be helping with the cost, like the $50 cost of food or whatever. So you can kind of split things up. It doesn't necessarily have to be cash. It could be other things that you want to get them to that actually further their progression, if it's a boot camp or whatever it is. And when we're pushing for rank, the other thing is I always want to make sure that there's a catch-all. So we're a huge fan of the build guides and the launch guides, and we have a launch group for every month. I know that you guys do as well with many of your teams, and I think that this is really crucial, especially for those new people that, oh, I got a double fast start, or I got an incentive, so I hosted 4 classes and I enrolled 12 people, but then they don't know what to do from there. They kind of followed things and they enrolled people, but how do they get their people to continue to do stuff? It's really great for them to have somewhere for them to send that. And so with Share Success, you have so many options. Make sure that you're plugging people into those systems so that you've got a safety net that's catching all of the people from falling through the cracks, because that's going to create, so it's just so much easier. So when you start to do this, you want to look at incentivizing your leaders, but then also looking at your users and your sharers as well, to keep that momentum. So what we've done a lot of times is, in addition to some of those cash incentives, we'll do a host incentive where we want to make sure at every class that people are having, they're scheduling classes from the class. Or I've got people this month even just on the phone calling all the sharers, letting them know how they're taking promo, and then also letting them know, you know what, if this month is a really great month to host a class, and just kind of going through the reasons why. And if you schedule with me by the end of today, then you get a free citrus bliss or whatever. But then we also have an incentive for them to have a good class, because you don't want to give host gifts just for people to invite their neighbors to come and get free samples or whatever. You want to always make sure that your host has an incentive and they care about the outcome of the class. So we also offer a free pedal diffuser for any class that does over 500 PV, because we notice when there's an outcome incentive versus just get people there incentive, then the host preps people a lot better and tends to get a better result, because they're sampling to people beforehand and they're doing more of their part instead of just saying, oh, you guys don't need to buy anything, just come and show up. There's going to be, food or free prizes or whatever. And then they'll get people there, but nobody really knows what they're coming for, and so you don't really have a good result. So having host incentives is a really great way to kind of get that going. And then another thing when you're rake advancing is, again, have another catch-all with classes. Whether you want to do a couple webinars or Facebook classes, we'll have a lot of users that, we offer them some incentive for, for every 5 people that you can push to this Facebook class, we'll give you whatever products, for free. We just kind of create something that's of value to them. And then you as a leader can do a Facebook class or a webinar where all of the legs on your team that maybe need a little bit of extra support, or have people or friends or family that don't live by them and can't come to one of their classes, can kind of go to this Facebook event or online event where it doesn't take a lot of commitment for them, but they can scroll through and go, oh, I didn't know you could use oils for pets or for cleaning or for whatever else. And pretty soon they've got a wish list of things that they want to do. And it is nice to do this towards the beginning of the month, so that those people that are interested, usually it's a little bit longer follow-up to get people to enroll with an online class, because it's not quite as personal. So if you do that towards the beginning of the month, and you've got a couple weeks to either get them to a live class or get them kind of set up with what they want. And that really can help push you to rank. And then the last thing I wanted to say, make sure you know your income difference, and don't over extend yourself with incentives or pushing to where it's really hurting you. It's hard to push really hard 2 months in a row, so keep that in mind. Don't expect your leaders to push, and then turn around the next month and do it again. That's usually going to create burnout in your leaders. And then make sure that you keep your focus where it should be. Sometimes we have a weak leg and we feel like that's where we're always offering incentives, or we're always filling it in. And what we do is we create somebody that's not going to build a business. They don't feel responsibility for that team. They feel like you're their safety net. You're going to come in and and do that for them. My husband used to have a saying back in his days regarding girls, and he used to say, I don't chase them, I replace them. And so we kind of have the same motto. It has a different meaning now, but with our team, I don't feel like we should chase people to help them. We should replace them. And this is why I absolutely love the 90-day Premier move, because if we've got a Premier leg or whatever, an Elite leg, something that's just every month that's not growing, instead of continuing to put our efforts into filling that in, I would so much rather put somebody there that's going to hit Premier and offer them an incentive to hit Premier in that 90 days. And as a Diamond, when you have a new Premier, you usually get around $2,300 bonus. As a Blue Diamond, it's usually around $4,500. And so you have something to work with, whether it's flying people out to do a couple events for them or giving them some extra incentives or whatever, that you can help them get to Premier in 90 days. And I would so much prefer to do that, where it helps you get the volume that you need to hit those ranks, but it also long-term, as soon as, I remember when I was Blue, I had this Premier leg. We were always just filling in. And so I put a new enrollment there, told her if she hit Premier, she'd get a leadership position. She really wanted to build the business. I told my goal, if you help get her to Premier, you can move her to your front line and replace this leg that's lagging and holding you back. So she hit Premier, and then the next month we moved her to my Gold's front line, and she hit Silver the following month. And so I just think it's so much better of a strategy that you really know where your focus is, and you don't continue to feed a flame that's not really growing or burning. And so that's kind of what I have for Rank Advance.
Yeah. Let me ask you one question on that again, because I think you're a ninja of actually paying attention to how much those pools and how much those extra shares are really showing up as. Truth be told, like a couple months ago, Andy was texting Melyna saying, hey, what are we going to get for a Silver in the presidential pool, right? We just haven't focused on that a lot. And Melyna is a Jedi of that. So you were saying a new Premier give us those numbers one more time.
Okay, so for Diamond, you're going to get the extra shares of the Diamond Performance Pool as well as the Diamond. And the Diamond Performance Pool is generally around $1,200. All Diamonds get that. So you can actually look at your commission statement. If you pull up your the thing that lists your commissions, and then at the bottom, you'll see your unilevel, you'll see your Power of 3, you'll see your Diamond Performance. You can see what that is. As a presidential, you just divide it by 3 because we get 3 shares. As a Blue, you divide it by 2 because you get 2 shares. And as a Diamond, that's what the pool is. So you can look at the past couple months and see what it is. But that's generally around $1,300. And then the Diamond is also going to get a share of the Diamond pool, which is around a $1,200 share. So it usually comes around $2,300 for a new Premier. And then for a Blue Diamond, it's the same thing. You're going to get the extra share of the Diamond Performance, so that's still going to be the same $1,300. But then you also get an extra share of the Blue Diamond pool. So what I'm doing is going and looking at the past previous months, or if you haven't hit that new rank you're going to, maybe ask your upline, what has the bonus pool been for the last few months? And you can look at that. I remember Andy called me. He's like, what was your share this month? Because he wasn't sure if he got the bonus for this Silver or not. And so I'm like, well, you can just look on your commission. It will tell you how many shares you got. So at the very bottom, it's very detailed. So Diamond, it's around $2,300, and I say around because you guys know it changes. Diamond is pretty consistent. Blue Diamond and Presidential Diamond bounce a little more because there's less people in the pool. But Blue Diamond is usually around $4,500-ish. But yeah, just if you're looking at that the commission breakdown, then just scroll to the very bottom and see what it's been for the past few months. And so whatever that Blue Diamond bonus is, I think Blue Diamonds, look on the commission thing, but I think Blue Diamonds get 2 shares of it, so divide it by 2 or 3 and see, yeah, I think Blue Diamonds get 3 shares, so you're going to divide it and see what that would be per share. Because it doesn't double your Blue Diamond, it's just going to give you the 1 share of the Blue Diamond. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Yeah, I love what you're, let me see. How did we get someone? Okay. I love what you're saying, Melyna, in that, even we had a time where it was a better choice for us to choose presidential instead of double diamond because we weren't getting we wouldn't get that bonus in the silver pool. So it might be sometimes that financially it makes more sense for you to hit Blue Diamond than Presidential because you have a Premier going that month, right? And you'll get an extra share for the Premier, but in the Presidential pool, you'll only get an extra share for silvers, right?
Presidentials actually still get an extra share of Premier. They just only get an extra share of the Diamond Performance pool. So they only get 100, whereas Blue Diamond would get about a 4,500. And so if you're at full buy-in for Presidential, you still would make more money hitting Presidential. But if you have like 2 or 3 Premiers and you're at full buy-in, then you should go with Blue. Or it just might be something where you will still make a little bit more money with Presidential, but it's not worth the pressure it's putting on your leaders. It's not worth, you never want to sacrifice your long-term growth by pushing for short-term growth if it hurts your overall income. And so, you know, sometimes we'll look at that. And there was times where we had a leader that we really just had to bite down and not go Presidential because we needed them to feel like they were on their own. This was their thing. And sometimes that's what it takes for them to step up and start growing, is that you're not filling it in for them. So, and that's another great thing that we do. Sometimes we'll give people an incentive for hitting a rank 3 months in a row. Mm-hmm. And they don't just push the 1 month and then sit back and do nothing and then fall back down. We always want to make sure that momentum keeps growing each month. So
that's awesome.
Perfect.
You are amazing. Thank you again for sharing. I love what you were sharing there at the end. You know, when it comes down to that leader and, you know, if they need to take ownership, then sometimes we need to step back and say, even though this makes sense financially, this doesn't serve for our long-term team growth. So thanks.
And financially, it will hurt you long-term. I would way rather miss a rank for a couple months than 2 years later still be filling in the same leg, right?
Yeah, so keep that view long-term, do what's best for the long-term move, and everything will work out in the end.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
I definitely agree. Right, well, I'm going to run to another appointment. Thank you so much for having me. I learned so much from you guys, and you know, it's always fun to be on these calls, and I look forward to celebrating all of these new rank advancements at convention.
Awesome. I agree. Thanks for sharing your Jedi wisdom.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, as Melyna shifts, we are going to bring in another Jedi in this realm, Kiyla Fennell, who she and her husband, if you have you been on the incentive trip or anything else, if you went to East Coast, you know them because they rocked the tech splits there. They took it all, and they know how to win everything that they jump into. They really know how to help people rank advance and achieve and get that achievement energy. So we wanted to pull in Kiyla, and Bob, feel free to add in anything as well, but we wanted to hear your top tips on rank advancement. Kiyla.
Hey, hello everybody. Thanks for having us on the call. We're really excited to be here. Actually, Bob is probably the one that should be giving the top tips for rank advancement. It was so funny, as I was sharing the oils, I would just hand him the wellness advocate agreements and he would place everybody into the computer. I had never even, you know, placed an LRP order until the month that we hit blue, I believe, or maybe it was after. And so the last 2 days of blue, or the blue month, it was June 28th. And Bobby said, Kai, we have so many enrollments. You have to help me, you know, put them in. And so that was the first time. So I'm glad Bobby's here on the call. But one of the reasons I believe that we win is just really basic. The first one is just keeping it simple. We follow directions. We had, you know, been enrolled by Roxanne and James Bybee, which, hello, you know, how much better can you get than being enrolled by those two? And they really have, I call James Yoda. And anytime I have a question, you know, I text Yoda, but he just, you know, I asked him straight from the start. I just said, hey, James, give me the first 3 steps of doing this business when I realized I wanted to just run with this. And he said, number 1, Kiyla, and I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, everybody on this call, but he said, number 1, use it. Get it in you, on you, and all around you. And I understand now the importance of that because of the belief. And then number 2, share it. You just as you start experiencing miracles, just tell everybody about it. And number 3, repeat. Literally, that is all he taught us. And we took that and we ran with it, and we shared it with every single person that we know. I believe that following directions from your mentor buys speed. And that is exactly what the Bibles supplied for us. We would have never rank advanced as fast as if we hadn't have listened, just been teachable. And then the second thing that I believe helped us is just to be extremely clear. I remember the exact moment after, we enrolled to get the discount to help my son. And, but then we got our miracle, 36 hours later, and Milan, my 9-year-old, taught a little class to her homeschool group. And I sat in the back of the room with tears in my eyes. I thought, her belief and her clarity to help people, if she can do it, I can do it. So I taught my class that. I had my oils for a week. And I told Bobby in the car, I looked at him and I said, Bobby, I just want you to know I'm going all the way with this. I'm going all the way to Presidential Diamond. So that was, last year at the end of January. And in the scriptures, it said, it's Habakkuk 2:2. It says, write the vision, make it plain, that he may run who reads it. There was no doubt anyone that came on with us, that enrolled with us, they knew exactly what we were about, where we were going, what we were doing. Everybody knew it. The minute that we made that decision, we sat the entire family down and we said, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. And, there may be things that we might not be able to attend because we're going to be traveling. We're going to be sharing the goodness of the oil. So we gave them the broader vision of how we were going to change the world, even being just, our children are 9, 3, and 4 right now. You can ask them. They know exactly where mommy's going or daddy's going. They know what we're doing, and they're excited about it. And that's how our team feels too. And, what was really enlightening to me is, I had 2 things happen. Like today, my little girl, she started crying and I said, Berlin, she's the 3-year-old. I said, what is it that you want? Because, she was upset and distraught over something, and there wasn't anything I wouldn't give her at that moment to help her. And, she just wasn't clear. And I think she probably just wanted me, but she didn't give me, a direct answer. And so she didn't really get exactly what she wanted. I kind of figured it out. But, that just really makes me see our relationship with, for us, it's God or the universe. We have to be clear, praying, like people can, get confused about prayer. Prayer is really simple. It's just an open mouth and an open hand. You request it, you ask it, and you will receive it. I love this little, it's ask, A-S-K. A is always be asking, never stop. S is seeking, just continually seek, seek for answers, seek for people, seek for whatever it is that lines up with your dreams. And then K is for knocking. You keep knocking, you keep going, you keep sharing the good news of doTERRA and build it with your team. When we had the tech splits at the Leadership Summit, I knew exactly what I wanted. I didn't want second place. I didn't want third place. I wanted first place. I wanted to have Emily Wright come to Tulsa. I knew that Oklahoma had never had an owner come to our great state. And I wanted to share her with everyone, not just our team, but everyone here in Oklahoma that has felt alone, because I noticed through the corporate events, we've had 3 now since we've been in doTERRA. We're so thankful to the company. They poured their resources, they poured their time into us. And when they come, we haven't had an owner, but when they come, people come up to me all the time that, are not on our team. They said, we felt so alone. And so instantly, when the tech splits opportunity came across on stage, I knew what I wanted. And I was very clear about it. I took my cute little notebook that they gave us with all the stickers. I have it right here in front of me. And I wrote exactly, I said, I am grateful to God that Emily Wright is flying to Tulsa because I won first prize in the tech splits. I felt God's angels. I felt everybody helping. And so then I let my team know. I said, hey, listen, guys, this is what's going down. This is what's going to happen. We're bringing Emily Wright. I posted a picture of Emily in our group, and I said, she's coming. You guys are going to be able to meet her. See, I had absolutely no doubt. I knew that God wanted to bless me. God wants to bless you. You know, if you get anything from what I'm saying right now, I just want to encourage you, because I know that this journey can be, you know, a little tough at times. And, you know, many times we'll just sit there thinking, how are we going to go from point A to point B? But I just want you to know that God wants to help you. People are for you. People want to help you reach your goals, and the universe is conspiring to bring everything, to bring your plans about. And I totally 100% believe that. And so as you know, we won the tech splits and we posted it in the group. And one of my platinums, she told me, she private messaged me. She said, Kiyla, did you see how people were falling over themselves to help you? She said, you need to ask more. Ask more. Your team wants to help you. And that was so enlightening for me, because, you know, I don't ever want to be a burden to someone. And like Melyna mentioned, she said, you know, you push 1 month and you give a break. And I totally see that, because I never want to feel like a burden to my team. I want this to feel like, you know, I want the journey to be a joy. I mean, sure, there's bumps along the road, but that's part of it, right? That's life. That's how we grow. I mean, the person I was last year is not the person that I am today. And that was one of my goals. It was so beautiful. She actually posted in our private Facebook group. She said, Kiyla, she said, out of everything, not the money, not the, you know, not even the oils, but one thing that I have loved, you know, being a part of this is who I have become. And I just want you to know that I have seen the growth in you. She was telling me that. And it's just, it's so beautiful. It's so much bigger than the oils. It's so much bigger than you and I. So my first one is simple. You know, just keep it simple. Listen to your mentors. Even if you're going for Presidential Diamond, you need mentors. You need somebody. One thing that I love the Jansons. I heard them on the Presidential Club call. When was it? Was it Tuesday? But Sarah. And she said that, you know, she knew she was going to go for Presidential Diamond in March. And she said she had several mentors, and she listed them. And I believe they were Presidential Diamonds. And I was so impressed with that. It goes to show that, you know, even though she's the mentor, she's the leader of her group, she's still teachable, she still learns, and she's still accountable to those that are going where she wants to go. And that's another thing that I love about our leaders. When I look into Roxanne's eyes, you know, when we're talking, I can see everywhere I've been, everything I'm going through, and everything I'm going to be. That is a powerful, powerful thing. And so I encourage you, if you don't have mentors right now that you regularly talk to, get that. And then number 2, be clear. You know, write the vision. I sought out people that I don't know who she is, but she's a blue diamond that reached rank in 18 months. And I read that she did 2 classes a week. I told Bobby, I said, wow, if she does 2 classes a week, I'm going to do 4 classes a week. So maybe I'll hit it in 9 months. But no, instead we hit it in 5. And then number 3 is ask. Keep asking, keep seeking, keep knocking, and get everyone on board. And that's all I have, Natalie. I'm not ninja like Melyna by any means.
Never. Those are the ninja moves that everything is built off of, right? You know, it's the foundation. We could look at all of the numbers and all of the strategy, but without the foundation that you just shared, it's like spinning our wheels, right? So I'm so grateful that you've shared this. Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yes, please. I hope Bobby's on too.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay.
Awesome. So we're going to ask you guys a couple questions. Then we're going to hear from Laura Jacobs, just bringing it home, and we'll take any other questions after that. But Kiyla, Bob, as you jumped in, like when I hear about, hey, if they taught 2 classes a week and then I went to 4 classes, you got this massive momentum going. And that's what I feel whenever I see you or hear you sharing with people. What do you think have been your biggest keys to doing that momentum and really using it to help your whole team go forward?
Well, it hasn't really been hard because we have the best mentors. We have James and Roxanne and Natalie and Andy Goddard. You can't go anywhere but the top, straight to the top. And so, we're definitely standing on the shoulders of leaders, and we listen to our giants, and we listen to you. We listen to everything you say. We don't only listen, but we watch you. And we just emulate. We figure, hey, that's exactly where we want to go. We're very clear about where we want to go. And so we just, success leaves clues. And also, I believe to build a really great organization fast with momentum, you need to teach. Teaching will build I started from day one. Everything that I heard from James and Roxanne, that's how it started. And then, of course, I started learning from Natalie and Andy. But everything I heard from James and Roxanne, I poured into my team from day one. Even when my team was 3 people, I was like, hey guys, and I was so excited, and I wanted them to experience exactly the same excitement that I experienced, and they did, and it just kept trickling down. Now, as we get bigger, I really, really see the importance. I'm starting to do more Zoom classes, especially after listening to the Jansons on Tuesday. We booked them out because they're all about connection. It really is. It's about connection and communication, letting them feel it through you. Our team is all over the world, so it's not like we have this local team that we can just have, local meetings all the time, but we connect online. So for me, it's teaching. What do you think, Bobby?
Well, I think, a few things, of course, what's the question again that we're answering? Because I don't want to answer the wrong question.
You're doing great. We want to hear whatever you have to say, but momentum, how'd you capture it? How'd you bring that on?
So, yeah, I think, for us was mastering the compensation plan, and if you Google search, doTERRA silver rank, it's going to come up the program compensation overview. It's the top on Google search, and it happens with all the ranks, but I still Google search doTERRA silver rank and tell my team to, because it's the one with Emily at the top, and it talks about the different ranks and stuff. Really immersing yourself in that day after day, probably for a good 4 to 6 weeks. I had it on my iPhone every day. I read through it, and there was little bits and pieces I didn't understand, but I kept reading it until I finally understood what executive, what elite, what presidential, double presidential, all those ranks were and what they meant. And when I got it up here, I got it. So then placements became really easy. And I think that was strategically for building our team, that was a big component. So I teach our team members who are asking these types of questions, I refer them to that page, and I just say, read it once a day. You're going to be confused, but keep reading it and learn each rank. And once you master that understanding and really get that, it's going to change your world on where to place new wellness advocates in your team. I think getting the spouse involved is big. Our biggest leaders in our team that are growing the fastest, of course, we have one that's single, but the others, their spouses are involved, and they're really collaborating together. The husband does better, generally speaking, with the detailed side of things, with the compensation plan, with all the numbers and charts and graphs. So that's where you can kind of teach your team to get their spouses involved with, their husbands involved with, if the wife is the primary sharer, as it is with our case. And of course, you guys probably already do that on this group here. But I think another thing is attracting versus repelling. So often we try to go after somebody. Well, it's just like you have to create excitement and desire with sharing the oils, but then know when to pull back. And that's something we really learned. We try to teach our team members to learn that. I don't think it's something you can teach as much as it's an art that develops over time. We have one of our big leaders who she's really developing a team quite well. I mean, we told her to go and sign up with the person who was speaking Young Living to them. We didn't say it that way, but they came to us and say, 3 of my friends are trying to sell me Young Living. They've been trying to get me, and I know you from just this little connection here. What about doTERRA? So, Kiyla told her about what we offer, but she said, well, if you're going to sign up with your friends, make sure you look for this, this, and this. And she gave them 3 things they're not going to find with Young Living. The next day they came back and they said, we want to sign up with you because we can't get that over there. So so she didn't try to reel her in like all her friends were trying to do. She let her make her own decision, but she gave her that excitement and the desire and allowed her mind to come back to us and enroll. And we try to teach our team members that who are trying to get that hook into their friends and reel them in and trying to push them to come in. Just let them be. Share the oils and let them come around and have them want it more than you want it. So attract them to your team. So for speed, I think that was a big sense of what we've done.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because you got to have that momentum, that connection, all these pieces that they're just talking about, and that foundation to then, in order to be able to use strategy just to get these little pieces right? And it's happening all along. I love how what you've shared, that was your foundation, yet it still serves you because you still, you live that way, right? And anybody, I remember talking to Justin Harrison about the end of the month and thinking, okay, I do not want to feel that way about the end of the month. I want to feel like, we've got our ducks in a row and we created this and it's in place. And so I've always had that vision. And sometimes when there's the next stretch, it's like, okay, it might take a little bit to really feel like the ducks are in a row and but we made the stretch and then things start laying out and it all comes to be. And then Halloween, Christmas, May 31st, whatever date, you're coming close to, those are peaceful days because you've set the foundation like the Fennells are talking about. Thank you so much for sharing, Kiyla and Bob. Awesome goods, right? We've got this recorded so people can glean from this, and we're trying to take notes of the highlights. I want to bring in Lara Jacobs. Let's see, Lara. There we go. So I'm just going to unmute you, Lara. You want to pop in and bring your brilliance. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
We're excited for you to bring your brilliance to the table right here.
Well, thanks for having me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to the Fennells sharing their magnificence, and I just want to say amen to all the truths that they've shared. And one of the things I love so much about our doTERRA journey is how we all find ourselves migrating to the same trajectory of truth, and that's where success lies. We come to learn to believe the same things in order to advance, and they've just modeled that so beautifully.
Agreed.
So, Natalie, do you want me to just jump in? You have something specific you want me to speak to?
Let me just review what I told you there. I loved how, Lara, you're so wise on the timing of when to guide people to reach. So what do you use as that rule of thumb? Do you have a rule of thumb? How do you decide when you're really asking those people for the stretch or encouraging that, or when you're just saying, okay, let's strengthen right now?
That's such a good question, and you gave me time to think about it, and I have to chuckle at first because years ago I read a book called The Secret Code of Success by Noah St. John, and the whole premise of his book is that there's what he calls the 3%ers in the world, who are the successful people we look at and we want to emulate their behavior, right? Like, what did they do? We want to know what it is, and we spend $11 billion a year buying their books and trying to glean from their wisdom. And he said a lot of times they really struggle to actually relay what they did, because we have to take what's unconscious competence and turn it into conscious competence. And so in this moment, I'm like, okay, so you're asking me to consciously realize what I'm doing. And I'm trying to think, do I actually know what I'm doing consciously? So I love the question. It's causing me to think, and I don't have, like, me, a lot of times I have an answer ready to roll right off my tongue.
Right.
But this one's actually got me on the pause button, and I'm thinking, yeah, what am I doing? I have to tell you, for me, I'm a huge fan of the belief pyramid. It was a significant awareness that came to me clear back when we were in our first year, or our only year of being Blue Diamonds, and Andy brought that awareness to me and taught me to look at that. And I have just found truth in belief is what causes rank advancement. And I get to do a ton of mentoring. And you have people who've hit a rank, maybe a diamond, a platinum, a gold, and they're maybe not sustaining that, and they're very frustrated. And in my eyes, they're hugely talented, gifted, capable people. And sometimes I'm just as baffled by their lack of sustaining of a rank or advancement in rank as they are. And so that's kind of where my mind went when you asked me that, is the first place I take them is to belief. What do you believe in? And I say, what rank are you holding organically? Because that's where we're going to start. I'll know that you're living up to these levels of belief simply by knowing what rank you can sustain organically on your own. And it's easy to be where I was way back before Andy taught me that, which was rank schmink. I thought it was like just some title some network marketing company gave you. But I have come to learn, appreciate, and be totally humbled by rank and the genius of our comp plan, and that there are certain requirements that in some ways are a level of unconscious competence that sometimes it's hard to make it palatable or tangible, but yet you and I, we could talk all day long about, we know that this is true. And so I've become so humbled by learning that there are certain beliefs or characteristics that are necessary to attain and sustain rank. And so as I'm coaching people, I'm cognizant of that. I'm cognizant of the beliefs. And so I'm focusing on where they need to be. And a lot of that kind of learning comes the hard way, where you're coaching that person. I'll never forget a Mary that I was on the phone with. I was on the road building my 6-leg team and, mentoring during, traveling hours. And this Mary, I don't remember if she'd ever even hit elite yet. And I think her PV per month was about 1,200 per month. And I discovered, this is soon after Andy had taught me this principle, I discovered that she didn't really believe in the product. And I was like, well, no wonder she's not hitting and sustaining elite. She doesn't even believe in the product. And so I challenged her, of course, to nurture herself there. So I think, a lot of times, Natalie, timing is that the rank will come when the belief comes. And so for me, a lot of the timing is about focusing in on nurturing the belief. And so my big philosophy, if you've ever seen the video that was done by Mido Pro years ago called Be Who You Are, is to meet people where they are. I just I've done some amazing mentoring and strategy sessions with some of my builders this week. And one, as I sat with her, and again, one of the most brilliant, amazing, lovely, capable, smart people that I know. And yet the people around her, are not flourishing and thriving and growing to what we would want them to. This is, if I was to be asked, what's the number one frustration of all of your leaders and builders across the board? It goes back to the one thing that Kelly Anderson talks about, right? The one thing Kelly says to focus on in your business is to bring people who bring people. So when you bring people who bring people, like this particular woman has some incredible connectors on her team. These people know people. So she has recruited the right people. And yet those people are not getting in front of people. They're refusing to do classes. They're refusing to do the thing. What did Kiyla just say was her magic? Her magic was to teach. And one of the challenges is this woman is an incredible teacher. And so in her light, other people are shrinking. And so we talked about, for her to sustain her rank right now, the number one belief she's got to nurture, because her rank right now is a duct tape rank, she has to nurture belief in her leaders, which means they have to believe in themselves, right? So in order to nurture that, she's got to figure out how to take the spotlight off herself, because what's happening is their downlines are jumping over them to her, because they're not building trust with their own upline. They're not feeling a sense of credibility because their people are shrinking. They're not taking the stage. They're building their trust with her, and it's causing convoluted leadership. So I don't know that I'm giving you a direct answer to your question, but what my answer is it's about the belief pyramid. It has everything to do with the belief pyramid. That rank happens and occurs in timing is all about the beliefs that exist to sustain it. And so I'm going to target that. I'm going to meet people right where they are, and I'm going to look for the gap. And oftentimes your greatest weakness is your greatest strength. So these people are incredible connectors, and yet their weakness is they're not connecting. So my goal with her, to get her to rank advance, right, and to help her with that timing, was to help her see that gap and how her behavior as extraordinary as it is actually not creating or filling or bridging the gap. It's actually widening the gap. And so I invited her to be more duplicable, to film herself teaching so people could watch her teach over and over again. That's how people duplicated me, is I just taped myself teaching a class with a video camera. I did it twice, once straight up how I taught it in front of an audience. One time I coached them through it, where I would stop and pause and maybe teach them a little bit of psychology about this, that, and the other. And I traveled all over the place, building 15 legs in 9 months for my 6th leg. And I would show up to a city and be with a bunch of leaders who I'd never met before, or builders. They were new. I don't call them leaders. And I would watch them regurgitate the same information from a stage, having never been trained by me personally, just watching a video. Yeah. And watching them flourish and grow and become elites and silvers over the weekend, because they had not a lot of things. We kept it really simple, but they had enough to be successful. And I knew I had to nurture their belief at every level. And I can tell you, every single time there's an issue with belief.
I love that, because we can always just go back to that as a reference. So wherever the issues are in our team, we can use that belief guide as a reference. Laura, you also hit on one other thing, which was just, you went to your people, you did those elite weekends that, you're turning out elites, you're churning elites, right? And you also did that. I recorded this video and made it available for my team. Sometimes I see people do one or the other. Like they're either going out to an area a lot, and so those leaders aren't actually becoming empowered, or they've actually never been to the area, or maybe only been a little bit and not enough to really bring the momentum and share the vision yet in an area. What did you learn from that process?
So, I've built a lot of legs, and I've built way more than my own front line. I've easily launched and built enough people to specific ranks to be presidential 4 times. So I have a little bit of experience under my belt launching leaders. And I'm a smart person, right? There's only so much of me to go around. And so I quickly learned some things the hard way. One time, I spent a lot of time with a particular leader on the road. I traveled with her a ton. And she was always acquiescing to me teaching. You teach, you teach, you teach. And I wasn't firm with her. I didn't tell her, sorry, I'm not teaching. Get yourself on stage and get going. And so there was a lot of gaps between her bridging to her own leadership, her bridging herself as a leader to her downline. And, a lot of what was built together in those years turned out to be a house of cards. And I still see her struggle in some ways to be able to meet some of those particular areas of her own development in herself, because I did too much for her. So yeah, going out and traveling and doing, you can overdo it. And that's one of the things I cautioned this leader about that I recently mentored, is you're doing too much. And so your people are shrinking, they're not growing in your presence. And so the timing for me is also be fast about it. And so I got really smart about realizing that I didn't have it in me to do the go visit them once a month for 3 months in a row. I didn't have 90 days of time when you're launching 15 legs in 9 months. I had the ability to go once. And so every trip was like this. I would fly in usually on a Thursday, and we would have a class Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday night, and Saturday morning, and I would fly home by Saturday night. That was my plan. So everywhere I went, we did 4 classes. Oftentimes we were driving, sometimes maybe even 3 and 4 hours between classes. So we were absolutely disciplined and on our game. No time was wasted. And if we were in the same city for a class, we were having a meal together with every single person that was there to be trained. If we were in the car, we were training. No minute was wasted. And we would follow up. I remember being in a city in the Midwest with a phenomenal teacher and leader who was scared to do the close. So she asked me. It was one of the first times I was teaching with her, so I was still willing to do part of it, because the more I teach with them, the more I insist that they teach the whole class by the time we're to the 4th class, so I can watch them do the whole thing. So it was, one of the first couple classes, and I agreed, okay, I'll do the close, you do the first part of the class. Well, she dropped the name of the family physician kit in the middle of the class, and I said in the car on the way to the next thing, I'm like, you stole my clothes, girlfriend. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I said, you dropped the name of the family physician kit. Did you notice what our enrollments were at that particular class? They were all family physician kits. I said, I close with the natural solutions kit. I expect a 200 PV average because people will sort themselves from there. with what they can do. But we can sell natural solutions kits. But because you dropped the other name, we didn't sell them. So she learned tons about clothing because I was right there with her. I could see what she was doing. I could follow up. And so I got in a tremendous amount of volume of time and training, not only of that one person, but generally their front line was with us, and trained the pants off of a team and accomplished in 3 days what oftentimes is being dragged out over 90 days, where people don't remember. You don't remember. They don't remember. And you don't get the impact you get with this concentrated amount of time and training. And so I was able to launch 15 legs in 9 months, going to each of those people one time. And to this day, I've traveled back to most of those teams maybe once or never, because we've been building and learning and growing in different ways together at different events in different ways. And maybe, they were my second or third line leader. So that's part of why maybe I wasn't going back to their territory, but maybe I went back and did a training. So I'm a big fan of that's part of the timing, right? My thing is timing is like, get it in a concentrated amount of time. People need results. Yeah. They need to get paid. They need to see they can do this. And that builds belief. They build belief in the opportunity when they get something impactful and effective.
Absolutely. They need to have those wins, those successes, and that really shifts it to be bringing that around. I love what you focused on there. It's exactly what the launch guide focuses on. Lara, that's all brilliant. If you've noticed, the launch guide helps them succeed quickly. And that's exactly what Lara is talking about right here. When we lose momentum, when we lose their focus, when we lose their energy, that's when we get to put in all this extra energy to get the wheel rolling again. But if we'll take that and condense it down, help people find success, become empowered in a short period of time, then they can take that forward and do the same thing with others. And that's their best setup for success. Thank you so much, Laura, for sharing your brilliance. Any last thought?
Well, thank you for having me. And most of all, what I want people to remember is if you were to ask me, Laura, what was your secret sauce? It was doing the thing. And whatever the thing was, I was willing to do it. I was willing to do hard things. I was willing to do things I wasn't good at. I was willing to do them over and over again and encourage other people to do the thing. Not acquiesce to being on the stage and always being the rock star, but saying, hey, you get up there, you teach, you can do this, and empowering other people and being present and around for what needs to happen. Like, it's just about doing the thing.
I love that. Be willing to do that thing, right? Don't get too comfy in our nice income and our nice check. And maybe we are experiencing some of freedom. We still have to be willing to do that thing so that others can experience freedom and we can take our freedom to new levels as well. Love it. Thank you so much. Hey, just as we close up, I want to remind you some of the things that we talked about today. Remember, in the launch guide, Heather Matter brought a lot of the brilliance that are on the placement pages there. It's a great way to teach basic placements to someone just out of the gate so they can start visualizing it. So use that as a tool. I love the 3 months that Melyna talked about. As you put a program in place, if you're saying this is the only month that this is going to happen or whatever, it doesn't always allow this normal growth process to happen. But if they know that something, hey, we're going to do this for 3 months, we're going to solidify, you're going to take this, you're going to reach, and then we're going to make it strong, maybe with some of your incentives or offerings or support, then they're going to feel supported in that 90-day period. Remember just the basic incentives of, we've got great incentives from doTERRA. I noticed that when my people are clear on incentives at classes, for example, just the keychain incentive, I am seeing that work so well on my M1 leg that they are clear, they have the keychains right there, they use it as a tool during the class to teach people about it, and then they say, everyone that takes home a kit tonight will take home one of these keychains. I've got keychains over there on the counter, and those that would like to host a class, feel free to fill up your keychain tonight with the oils from the Family Physician Kit. And that has really upped hosting as well. So be clear about those pieces. Also, reference guides, great incentives to add on as you go for these ranks. We've received so much incredible insights from different perspectives, different directions. Bring it together to make your magic, to make your secret sauce, because that's really what will take you to the success that is truly yours, that it's just within your reach. It's just tuning in and putting the essential pieces in place to get to that, to reach that. Hey, one passing note too, as we close, we've got Experienced doTERRA weekend. That is May 12th through 14th coming up. We've had so much success with these fly-in experiences lately that we have turned this into an event. And so we have corporate lined up. We have VIP tour lined up. We have a cabin lined up. We have some really cool meals and a great experience. There's a little bit more detail there for you. Last month we did it on a small scale, but Katie Adams and, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting names right here in the middle of my navigating without Andy. But we had 2 Blue Diamonds come out. They brought prospects out. We did key activities, and then they left. They came in on Thursday night, left on Saturday morning, and through those experiences and then Saturday morning, just creating a business plan for them going forward that was customized to their needs and to, these were big influencers. We walked away with some great direction, and Katie Adams and Lori Hayes both picked up their presidential legs and some great strength in moving forward. So feel free to take advantage of that. You can get to that and register for that from sharesuccess.com/events. It's up there. Have an awesome May. We are set up for some incredible success. So grateful to be with you. Take it to the next level. You know what needs to happen. Resist all the crazy. Go back to the essentials. Help those on your team succeed. Know who they are. I remember putting Post-its up on my walls. Just, okay, these are the people that are going diamond. These are the people going silver. And then I could just put a little more energy into that. Be with them. Hold a space for them. And then go for your own success. It'll all roll up and fall into place. Have a beautiful May. Great to be with you.